Well, this year, the National Arts Festival is celebrating 50 years of existence. It's held annually, as we know, in Makhanda, formerly known as Grahamstown. We're joined this afternoon by Monica Newton, who is the CEO of the Arts Festival, and the festival's artistic director, Rucera Seethal. To both of our guests, thanks so much for coming on. It's great to have you on. The Arts Festival has a very special place in my heart. I think I was at Rhodes University some 50 years ago. Rucera, how do you, as artistic director, plan a festival that sort of encompasses and tell the story of the 50 years of the Arts Festival?
It's a lot of work on the one hand for, yes, myself, but also a team that grows in size around the festival. You know, the festival, we have different components. So there's a main festival and a fringe festival and a jazz program. And through all of these avenues, we have different invited artists, but artists who also make their own way. And it ends up being quite a broad offering for an array of people who come from the Eastern Cape and from all over the country.
And from all over the world, I imagine, Monica. How long have you been CEO of the National Arts Festival?
About 10 minutes, Michelle, in terms of the history of the National Arts Festival. I joined in 2020, so this is my 5th year and only my 3rd actual live edition. So I'm a newbie in festival years, at least.
Yeah, and what's exciting to you about being a newbie for an arts festival that has so much history? I mean, it's always exciting to get a fresh pair of eyes, some new ideas. What's exciting about that for you?
Well, I think the most important thing about a 50-year-old festival is, first of all, acknowledging its incredible legacy and recognizing its place in the history of South Africa, in the history of the arts, in the story that is South Africa at this moment in time. But probably the most exciting thing is, where do we go from here? How does a 50-year-old festival continue to be relevant? How do we continue to make our contribution to arts development, arts promotion, but critically the development of the soul of our nation? Because at the end of the day, no pressure here. That's what Rucera and her team do every year, is they show us a side of ourselves, they tell us stories about ourselves, and they show us a path to a future that can be different and can be better. And our job at the festival is to make sure that we are the best possible showcase for that conversation to happen with as many people from across the country and around the world as possible.
I love that explanation. Rucera, have you been artistic director for longer than the 10 minutes that Monica tells us about?
Monica and I pitched up at the same time, in fact. So I also started in January 2020, just in time for COVID. So we've had our trial by fire together and first 3 years of live festival together.
And what's so fascinating about the festival, outside of the festival itself, is that it's also been, over the years, a real launch pad for formidable talents coming out of the arts, right, here in South Africa.
Indeed, it has. And, you know, for many years, we've run the Standard Bank Young Artists Award, which is a very key platform for precisely what you're speaking about. And often one can see some of the young artists over the years. If you look back at previous year's editions, they would have made their way through the festival, sometimes even starting volunteering or working on the ground, and then working and presenting work on the fringe, onto the main, and then finally selected as young artists. So there's many artists who over the 50 years have made their careers over the years at the festival.
And I love the fact that so many of them actually go back to the festival year after year, Monica. I'm actually thinking specifically of Rob van Vieren, who I remember many decades ago performing at the festival, and I see that he's promoted himself to be in Grahamstown, in Makhanda again this year.
Of course, and Rob is a great supporter of ours, and we're a great supporter of Rob's. Yeah. And of course, he always brings an interesting array of work. And interestingly enough, Rob is not just an accomplished comedian, he's an accomplished theatre practitioner and director. So one of the wonderful things about the National Arts Festival being multidisciplinary is we get to see all sides. Saki last year, in fact, had a visual arts exhibition as well as 2 extraordinary performances as a headliner, but then also incredible artistic performances with local choirs. So artists come home to do different things with us, to show us different sides, to tell different stories, and to think about where they are going. So we're always happy to have Rob, and we're always looking forward to his performances. And of course, he joins a wonderful group of comedians, both established, organized structures on the festival format, people with brands who are known, but also the unknown. And that, again, as Rucera points out, is one of the really amazing things about the festival, is there's always that you know that you can rely on. There's an entire wealth of people that you've never met before, voices you haven't heard before. And that's always the really fun part of festival, actually, is meeting those folks and seeing what they have to say.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how Rob van Veeren's new show actually works in Grahamstown at this time of the year, given the oorskap relentless winter, because in his latest show, Rucera, he is hardly clothed. I mean, is the weather a deterrent, or do you feel that it just adds to sort of the charm of this 50-year-old Festival of the Arts?
The weather is definitely part of the character of the National Arts Festival, and it's a very good excuse to have glühwein late into the night with friends and with artists, to kind of cuddle in close when you're sitting in the theatre. So people find a way. People come back year after year. Fireplaces, after shows. It's lovely. It's charming. It's cold, but it's charming.
It's freezing, yeah. And I see the Rat and Parrot will be still offering that glühwein. I wasn't sure whether the Rat and Parrot was still open all of these years later. Yeah. But it's wonderful also to just think about how festivals like this, Monica, you know, and it's in some of the coverage I've seen of the festival, you know, to try and uncover the future Huma Sakelas, the future Miriam Makebas, the future Abdullah Ibrahims of the world, and of course in other spheres as well, outside of jazz, in the arts, in theatre, in magic, and the list goes on and on.
Absolutely. And we take huge pride in the fact that we are part of that journey. And we're a place where people can come to experiment, to do something new, to take their first steps on their professional journey. Of course, the National Youth Jazz Festival, as a foundational experience for, frankly, thousands of professional jazz musicians now, is legend. And equally, the stages that we present for student work, the stages that we present for solo work, for independent work on the fringe, are absolutely fundamental, because many spaces are not open to young voices, to inexperienced voices, to names that people don't recognize. But one of the wonderful things about the National Arts Festival, and our research proves this over a number of years, is that 88% of our guests will do something different. They'll see something different. They'll go to something that they're unsure of, because we create the space in which that's possible. Ticket prices remain really low, so your investment is quite low on something that you might not know. But fundamentally, we present an incredible diversity, because we would love for everybody to experience as much of the festival as possible, and to go and meet people that they've never met before. Because at the end of the day, we create that experience, we curate that experience, which is what Rucera and her team do so well.
So, as it turns out, 2024 is quite the important year. 30 years since democracy, 50 years since that first arts festival in 1974. Rucera, what will be your highlights for people who are thinking of making a visit to Makhanda?
It's always the difficult question, because there's so much on offer. But what I can say is this year, the visual arts program, we have a lot more group exhibitions on offer in different parts of the town and the monument building. And that's very exciting, because you have the possibility to see and encounter more artworks than you would normally. But also, we've kind of really stepped into thinking through curated group exhibitions. So we have the Constitutional Court art collection coming through, which will weave itself through the Monument Building. We've created an exhibition called Mattering, which looks at 5 decades of the National Arts Festival, but draws on artists who have been on the program. And there's a New Voices exhibition as well called Talking Loud, which should at some points be exciting, challenging, fun. We also have a very exciting and kind of celebratory, life-giving music program. Zoe Modifa will be there. She's our Standard Bank Young Artist winner for this year. We have Sipho Hot Sticks, Mabuse, Mandi Sitiani. They really create a beautiful atmosphere. I think in the festival, as much as we have many theatre works as well that are, as Monica had said earlier, kind of present us with some of our current issues, dilemmas, questions, seek out new perspectives. So I think there's quite a broad offering that one can choose from.
Sounds so exciting. Wish we could be there. It's happening from the 20th to the 30th of June. It's going to include the Village Green, the Rat and Parrot, and so much more, celebrating half a century of the National Arts Festival. Let me thank you both for your time. It's been a great pleasure taking a stroll back into the past and for you into the future. Monica Newton is the CEO of the Arts Festival. Rucera Seethal is the Artistic Director. Thank you both for joining us.